Hello and welcome to another episode of Trailblazers Rising. I am your host, Melanie, and I am so excited to bring to you this lovely human that I have been following on social media for a short period of time now, and we are mutuals. Coach Goose, tell everybody hello, who you are, where you're from. Give them everything you got.
Hello. All right, we're from St. Louis, Missouri area on the IL side. I am a self-leadership coach. So what that means is that, or at least the way that I've termed it, is primarily what I teach people to do is I teach them how to stop taking life so seriously, stop being controlled by the uncontrollable. Like all of my guiding principles, everything to do with my coaching is about acceptance and creation and also creating clarity, which seems like if you're in the coaching space, that seems like a super basic thing. But, being a therapist, having been a therapist for 4 years, what I see is that it's like really weird. People don't know like what they like, what their desires are, what they want to create out of life. They're just coasting and they're just enduring. So I help people to stop enduring and start creating outcomes that actually make sense for themselves to lead in their life. Because so I have a bachelor's degree in philosophy, and that's probably actually more my bent is the philosophical pursuits. And I believe that we're all being controlled. Like I'm obsessed with power and control. I believe we're all being controlled by something. We're being controlled by our habits. We're being controlled by, media conditioning, parental conditioning, societal conditioning, what our spouses expect, what kids expect, whatever it might be, that we're being controlled by these expectations. To be unaware and be conscious of how we're guided and how our motivations are tied to certain actions, I think that's pretty much the tragedy of life. So that's what I help people to do is to get very intentional about what's guiding their lives and are they actually in control of their lives? Because I think everybody consciously, we're only operating with like 20% of our consciousness. So I think everybody would say, oh yeah, I'm in charge of my life. I'm making decisions for me. But it's like, okay, so why is there so much despair and disappointment and happiness? And I don't really like happiness. That's a super achievable goal, but just in general, like there's so much disappointment, and so much dissatisfaction, and I wanna help be a part of that.
I'll raise you one. Happiness is an achievable goal if you let go of how it has to
Yes,
happen.
the expectation there. Exactly. Exactly. So, and that's what I'm really all about also is the expectation. That's what low life is essentially. It's like how to because if you have expectations, then your emotions are tied to that. Then that's then controlling you. We have all of these little ties. That's what I'm all about is consciousness is investigating all those little ties and what's sitting between you and the calm and the consciousness, within that observer seat of space.
So I'm sure that you use social media almost as often as I do. It's for work, but there's a huge movement going around on social media about all of those topics and, our conditioning. And sometimes it gets a bad rap with the whole idea of like lucky girl syndrome. And like, 20 years ago when The Gift came out or The Secret, it was The Secret, not The Gift. That's a totally different book.
I was like, is there another one?
But like there's a real simplification that is a narrative out there that it's like, well, you can be happy and you can live a low trip, low demand, easier lifestyle, but that means you got to let go of not only those expectations, but also of like what the fuck other people think of you.
And that's the main one. Like that's the main one is deepening that self connection and a deeper connection. That's what, and again, everybody like thinks this consciously. Like it sounds like, okay, well, yeah, you have to be connected to yourselves, but we're not trained that way. I mean, if you get into, if we'll get into like conspiracies and stuff, but if you get into like the media,
Yes, conspiracies.
but the media just as a whole does not benefit from you generating your own self worth, right? Like if you can buy your worth, if it's in the car, the new barbecue grill, or I kind of live out in the country. I work rural. I kind of sometimes that comes out. So it's like the new tractor out here. It's the new mini bike out here, the new four wheeler, the new boat. River toys. It's all this stuff.
Yeah.
And if you value yourself, then all of these companies aren't going to be able to make any money off of you. And I'm not going to say that I'm not materialistic. I'm plenty materialistic, but I'm always conscious. Like that's a weakness. I'm always conscious of, okay, like I bought 100 in pair of sunglasses. Did I buy them because I like the quality or do I want them to say something about me? And if it does, if I want to say something about me, then I need to do some work because I'm not in a good place. I was an impulse buy and I need to reflect and reframe. So, it's a conscious thing all the time. Like, me being a coach isn't me at all saying I'm perfect at any of this. I developed low trip lifestyle for myself and it's a practice unless I revise it, that I plan to continue until I die, because those four tenets they have to be used creatively. So the four tenets are unconditional love. And I just did a podcast on that, but unconditional love, detachment, authenticity, and acting when necessary, which I really think speaks to some of the stuff that The Secret gets like a bad rap for, because it's like, you can't just wait for $1 million to fall out of this. But anyway, in certain
Yeah.
situations, so those four tenets are to be used in any and all situations at all points, like from the little stuff like we use it this morning to like obviously, the larger life challenges. But sometimes you have to use one of those tenets more than the others. Sometimes you have to figure out, okay, how can I equalize this? Or sometimes acting when necessary. That the implication with that also is that there are times where there's no action necessary. So then what comes there is back to the conditional love of the acceptance and then detachment of the situation. Okay, how do I process and cope with this thing that's happening that I can't do anything about, that I don't like?
Yeah. This keeps coming across my FYP, the concept that if being busy has always been your coping mechanism and performing and being productive has always been how you proved your worth, feeling calm will feel
Yeah. And I come from that school. Definitely. Definitely. I relate with that a lot.
Yeah, I remember, and we talk about this at the Neurospicy Academy all the time too. When I reflect back on the life that I was living just a few years ago, when I was still working at a very busy restaurant, my kids were younger, they're teenagers now. My husband's in the Navy, so he's in and out, in and out, in and out, right? A lot more home recently with his orders and
Awesome.
whatnot than, at the beginning of our marriage 15 years ago. But the the trauma drive that was keeping me in the ability to wake up at 6 a.m., get my kids off to school, get to the gym, work out for an hour and a half, go out for lunch with a girlfriend, go home and do schoolwork because I was getting my degree in business management, and then go to work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon until 10 p.m., then go out to eat or go get drinks with the girls after fucking work, go home at 1 p.m., and then watch and speak the next day. Now, I can't even go to Walmart and Target in the same day.
Yeah, that's too much. That's too many things.
And so when we think about like how, and we all have this internalized ableism, right?
Oh my
People
God.
have
Yeah.
internalized ableism, especially I can speak for myself as a white woman who comes from a definite level of privilege. And I'm very thankful for it. And I acknowledge it all the time. I have so much internalized ableism of like, you don't really need a nap.
Oh,
You don't really
Lord,
need, you don't really, and it's like, I'm actually dismal. I really don't need this. Why do I treat myself like this, right? That perfectionism that gets placed on us and the human giver syndrome that gets conditioned into our every fiber of our being. So how do you use those tenets to go about reframing and rewiring that part of our
me
headspace?
is the biggest one concerning those things is the unconditional loves and I mean, probably all of them. They probably all apply. The authenticity to be able to feel, because I'll deny my own feelings a lot with the ableism.
Just not feel them. I'm in Aquarius mood. I'd rather talk about them, but I don't want to feel
Yeah, I'm in Cancer, so I'm turbulent. Oh my gosh, I'm so emotional all the time. So I don't have too.
Is your birthday, did you just have
It's
it? Or
July
are you, is
15th.
it
It's
coming
coming
up?
up.
Oh, happy almost.
I actually don't talk about it because one of my favorite things as of the last few years is to have no one know about it. So I could just have a day of silence, because the
Yeah.
happy birthdays would come in and like that's accommodation for me. It would like overwhelm me, and then I would have like a bad day. I'm not enjoying my birthday because of text messages. Now I just don't tell anyone. Now it's not on my, like, private social medias. Like, no one knows I was born. I'm signed.
I've been doing that now since about 2020. So 2020 was a really impactful year for me. My mom died after her 18-month battle with stage 4 head and neck cancer in April of 2020. So like the world shuts
Oh
down in
man, all at
March.
once.
And then I have to, strong arm me and my dad and my sister into the ER and whatnot on her last day and all this other, and getting her, and it was impactful for me, but it was impactful for everybody else. And I do notice that for everyone. But that's when I started to be like, wait, why am I doing all of this? Do I like it? Am I happy doing all of this? What
Yeah.
role do I really need to play? What do I get? What's going on? Right. And then huge, wild spiritual awakening ensued. And I was like, oh, right. I've been working on mindset for a while since before all of this, but it really all connected and came together. What was your origination point of like, holy shit, I got to help people with it?
Okay, so me and you're talking about past lives before this, and my life path. I'm a master number 11, and I just found that out like a few months ago. But I've always been this way. Like, since I was a kid, I've been like abnormal. I mean, honestly, painfully. I'm into the darker philosophy. I'm into darker things. I went through an addiction for, I don't know, 10 years or so on and off cocaine and alcohol, and it was part of my, philosopher, brooding, need Heidegger and all this stuff. So I've always been like, I started listening to the Doors. Music, I will say this, because this is part of this answer. I've learned more from music so I pretty much raised myself. I was the oldest kid and your parents are divorced. And music has taught me more than any degree, education, any other individual,
I can't hear you anymore. My thing was just catching up.
Okay.
I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm here.
the purpose of pain. My mom was super highly reactive and just really OCD about like probably like is diagnosed in OCD. I wonder if she's like on the spectrum because this stuff's got to be genetic. So, I wonder if she was, really, she had a lot of trauma and was just living it rough and put a lot of pressure on me. And I just would look at her and be like, why are you so crazy? Like, what is going on? What is happening? Where you are so upset.
What's so urgent?
Yes. Yeah. I've just always been just kind of, low and slow time, not pathetic, but just, I don't know. So this urge to help people and to be a part of that world. Like currently I work as a therapist and as a counselor and, depending on state or whatever, different people have different terms for it. But that's just one healing modality. I actually think psychology by itself is very limiting. So I can do that as a job. I love writing. I love talking. I love coaching. I'd probably get into, some energetic, probably hand work, later on once I have time to learn and figure out what that is. I love all of it. I always,
as an energy healer who is also a psychic, and I'm a mindset coach, and I'm so many things, but really what I do is I help you get out of your own way, right? So in all of my sessions with clients, whether they're a long-term 6-month there, or it's just a one-on-one 90-minute breakthrough boost session, I'm getting fed information from my spirit guides about where to go, where to touch, what to ask about. Because one of the most specific things my spirit guides always say is that I can't tell you this thing and tell you this is what's going to work. I have to get you to say it yourself.
That's to tell me and ask the question to get us.
You have to ask the question so people can realize it on their own, especially since I only deal with women and we have so much demand aversion that we may not even know about. Like I have the persistent drive for autonomy type of autism, but what I really believe they're going to start realizing if they start doing some research anytime soon, it would be fantastic. All of us women in our 30s, 40s, and 50s would greatly appreciate it. Whatever. But the more research that they do, the more they're realizing how much of an umbrella all of the neurodivergence is and how there's just so many different presentations of all of these different kinds. And I'm like, I just identify as neuros. I know that I have ADHD. I know I'm autistic with the PDA profile. I know I have I know I have PMDD. I know I have comorbidities like PCOS and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And like I can list down all of my alphabet soup diagnoses. Dyslexia and dyscalculia are new for me to understand that I have. And when I'm able to list all those out, I start gaslighting myself being like, no, you don't. There's no fucking way you have all. There's no reason you have. There's no way you have endometriosis and PCOS and your periods. Like, there's no way. You're just exaggerating it. And I'm like, who benefits from me thinking?
No one. Yeah.
No one. But we are so conditioned by every aspect externally of our environment from the moment we're raised. You're okay. You're fine.
Yeah. At least around here, it's basically like you have to be. I've noticed that you can walk in and get like any pill you want to if you're like, elderly, like if you're dying, and I'm like, those are people that they probably need more holistic care. They probably need, something that's not pill, but anything else, it's just like you're lying or you have anxiety. That helps you gaslight yourself. Yes. Been to 5 different specialists and they have the degrees. I won't get into all that, there's good people in every place.
I read
it's hard. It's hard.
There's a study that they did on Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And it took, on average, men 3 years to get diagnosed with it, and it took women 12 years to get diagnosed.
12? That is 4 times. God.
So we believe from the research that we have that it affects women at a disproportionate rate than men.
Perfect.
But, it's all psychosomatic for us. It's not our body actually breaking down, right? But fun fact for everybody listening, if you do believe that you have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos or any other sort of connective tissue disorder, do the research into taking Jell-O to help. Did you know? So to everybody listening, and this is going to really piss off the expensive collagen people, Jell-O is cheap, easy collagen. And you can go on Amazon and you can order an big old thing of Jell-O. I put it on my dog food to help them with their creaky old joints because they're only 11 and 10. And I told them they have to live for as long as the Guinness Book World Record dog. And that's
Okay,
31. So we got to
they
wash
got
this.
some time.
If,
I got some fresh.
got some time. We better lubricate those joints. But like, seriously, when I realized a few years ago that research and knowledge is my special interest, and then it took a turn into holistic lifestyle research and knowledge, and I went, let's go, because I just want to know if it's interesting to me, I want to know everything about it. I just want to know everything. And I was always shamed for that and been told, oh, you're a know-it-all. And it's like, no, maybe I just know it all, bitch. And you can bet that I'm not going to speak on topics that I'm not privy to. If I haven't done any research, I'll just go, what do you know about it? I don't know.
Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. I was called a chatterbox growing up and a question master because I always have, like, that's what makes me a great therapist, counselor, whatever, is that I always have another question. I will take anything and make a question out of it.
Absolutely. So you took the dive into coaching, and I have a lot of clients that are therapists and a coach. And I love that we're finally bridging the gap between and like working together from the mental health side and from the coaching side, right? Because as long as you're trauma informed, as long as you're coming from the heart, as long as you know exactly who to help, like I know I can't help a Trump supporting man. That's not in my wheelhouse, right? But I damn well know I can help a woman who is looking for holistic support and answers to her neurodivergent needs so that she can reach that next level in her business without all the self-sabotage and the self-doubt and the imposter syndrome, right? So as a coach, what are some of your favorite things to do with your clients? Like for me, it is the aha. Love when you're in the session and they go, oh, and the whole energy just shifts and you go, okay, yeah, there it is. They got it. Is that the same for being a therapist and a coach? Is it the same feeling?
I'm a really unconventional therapist, and I just kind of know that just from like talking to my other therapist friends. I'm very action oriented, which really comes from the coaching space. It's like we have to, and pretty much all my therapy clients get probably 50 to probably 60%, unless they are, really, really going through something traumatic. But even so, even then, I'm like, okay, well, is there something we can do today? I'm about the doing. Now, there is a lot of, like when the humanistic psychology movement came out in the 60s, there's all this research done about the fact that, like simply just talk, I actually been criticized for this. It's simply just talking out your problems actually does a lot of the healing in itself. And I have always had a really hard time agreeing with that. I think it has some value, but I think prolonged over time, it doesn't end up doing more damage. It just creates a lot of stagnation. And I've even, I have a very transparent relationship with my clients. So, I tell them like negative feedback is welcome. Tell me where you're at, what you're doing, and what's working, what's not working. And some of them do get to a point where they're like, okay, well, I don't really, I've talked through it, I worked through it, I got my skills, I'm doing okay, life is stable. Like, what else am I supposed to be doing here? And I'm like, nothing. Like it's time to close you out. That's it. And therapy is not really like that. Therapy, depending on where you're at and how you're formed. I did not get the LCPC, LSW, whatever. I just have a master's in psychology. It's actually a master's in positive psychology. And I have a side emphasis in life coaching. So because I did not plan to get deeper into this, as I said, this is just a modality. This is a way of healing. I did not want to get specialized and get locked into licensing and having to keep stuff up and everything because this is, I really just got the degree because I was, as you said, talking about information. I was just curious about it. I like psychology. I get degrees because I want degrees and I don't care about debt. I'm a frivolous academic standard. So with positive psychology,
we need them.
Yes.
We need that. We need the scholars.
But with positive psychology, so I guess one of the main premises is that the absence of symptomology is not the presence of wellness. And that is what drives everything that I do.
Hold on.
The absence of symptoms.
Symptomology
is not the presence of wellness.
Does not mean, oh, my nipples got hard.
Good.
I have to write it down. The absence of symptomology is not the presence of wellness.
Yeah. So that's positive psychology 101. So positive psychology is different than like all this other, which I'm not passionate, but it's different from everything else. It's super new school, like super like last 30 years. Martin Seligman, he didn't found it, but he kind of like spearheaded the movement. Basically, but it's looking at the fact that like because he said he gave a keynote speech in like 1999 at the I think he was the president of the APA at the time, And he gave a speech and he's like, I've been spending the last 30 years making miserable people less miserable, doing a lot of these psychoanalysis and doing a lot of the CBT. And he's like, I was making miserable people less miserable. He's like, so I got really interested in like what creates a mentally well person. So like that's what I've studied. That's what low trip lifestyle is. Cause I actually have a hard time with, right. Like I do have kind of a niche, you are your own first client, right? So I'm one an unfocused creative or was or am working through, whatever, who's healed, but healing. Unfocused creative and overworked overachiever. Those are my two kind of major
Yeah.
flaws that I'm continuing to work through and enhancing, getting better every day. So those are two populations I can work really well with, basically people that have no control or a little control, unfocused creatives, and people that are controlling everything, like the overachieving part of things. But really, so those are kind of niches, I guess. Like I do make content that is directed at those populations because I know those specific struggles. But really low trip lifestyle, I mean, it is somebody that, if you're dealing with call them the 5 Ds of stagnation. So I think it's hopefully I can name them. All right. It's disappointment, distraction, okay, now I got him here. All right. Distraction, dissatisfaction, disappointment, destruction, and dysfunctions. If you're dealing with any of those, life is not a good time for you. Low trip lifestyle will help. But I also created low trip lifestyle, these 4 tenets to help anybody at any stage of where they're at. I'm obsessed with like wellness. And just because you might be
Yeah.
doing, just because everything's falling apart or that you're in immediate need of a coach right now, doesn't mean that there aren't things to learn about enhancing this experience that you have learned.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's really so when we think about, and this is conversations that have just been permeating every aspect of my life. When we think about the absence of symptoms, right? So I am a firm believer in improving my negative neurospicy symptoms like, mood issues because we can be emotionally volatile.
Yep.
I'm a very kind of high strung person, even as I am re-regulating and rewiring my nervous system. And that comes from hypervigilance, being super sensitive as an autistic
Oh my
ADHD
God.
person.
All
My nervous system is just picking up on all the
that.
things. I wish I wouldn't pick it up on most of these bitch. I don't want to hear the tapping of the fan in the living room, but I hear that. This doesn't fucking help me. But like really taking the holistic lifestyle approach of what can I do to feel my best? I know which vitamins and supplements to take on a low energy day to turn it either into a medium energy day and I can get shit done, or it's going to prove this is a low energy day, bitch. Go lay the fuck down. We didn't give you any go-go juice. You got to calm your tits and chill out a little bit. And then like what to eat to make myself feel better. Less protein. If you are a woman or an AFAB human being or a pen, who knows? I'm just not very well educated in that sector. Protein is so important. Oh, and for all my LGBTQI plus anybody, just listen, just up your protein intake little by little and up your fiber intake little by little and watch the changes, right? So like I will admit I love a carb. I'm not going to lie. And I am a diet soda fanatic. I'm not proud of it, but I'm not going to lie about it. All right. I love Diet Dr. Pepper and I love Diet Orange Soda. That's just my thing. I can't help you guys, but I make sure that it's balanced, right? So you're not going to be able to live a completely toxin-free life. You're not going to be able to live a completely demand-free life, right? There are still going to be things that trip you up, but it's your ability to live a holistic lifestyle where your nervous system is regulated and your mindset is in the right place, where instead of thinking the world's out to get you, and instead of assuming, when somebody cuts you off in traffic, instead of assuming it's just a dickhead person, maybe they're doing their best, like I'm doing my best, and they may have fucking.
Yeah, I love stuff like that. Like stuff like that is what Michael Singer has called like low hanging of letting go. Like that, like traffic and the weather are what I really like to get started with people because especially around here, like around here, the weather changes every day. Everybody seems to, I mean, they were just born yesterday. They have no idea that we live in the Midwest and it changes every day. They cannot fathom that the temperature's different, and it truly, but I watch socially, I mean, it drives moods. It drives, and I know there's research about seasonal things, but I'm like, we cannot decide to be happy only when the sun comes out. I'm like, that is such a limiting, restrictive lifestyle. We can't, I mean, people, and then, in Illinois, where I'm at, it's like, man, I go off on this because it's something I've noticed since I was a kid. When it's hot, it's too hot. When it's cold, it's too cold. And even as a kid, it registered to me that I'm like, we have to have some level of acceptance and tolerance for the sun. Like, we can't do anything about the sun. We've got to live with that
Yeah.
or move or take some initiative, act when
Yeah.
necessary. That's 10 at 4 or move. But stuff like that is low hanging fruit. It's like, it's okay, that we do get, tripped up about these types of things, but we have to recognize that and come to an understanding. It's like, okay, like, do I want the sun to control how I feel? Totally, at least totally for today, or at least for periods of time where every day it's too hot or it's too cold or it's too this or it's too much wind or do I want my entire day to be dictated by something that I can't even touch?
Yep. I teach people all the time that your energy is your power, right? And so you have to do everything in your ability to keep your energy as good as possible. And that
Absolutely.
doesn't mean you're not going to have a low energy day and you're not going to have a high energy day, but it means on my low energy days, I'm going to honor it with rest, good shows, good food, limited, responsibility or demand or drive from my business, my family, myself, whatever it is. It's like, let's accommodate where we're at instead of trying to push through. And then on a high energy day, it's appreciating what I'm able to get done and how
Absolutely.
I'm able to feel while I
Yes.
do it and not expect that I'm going to have to do it again the next day. Cause where I got tricked up my entire fucking adult life was thinking every day had to be that high energy, high output day. And then when I woke up and I didn't have it, I was like,
That's
hey, drink.
yeah.
I'm all right, then I have to be like this. This is the only way that I'm good. And this is the only way people like me. And now I'm like, let's wake up and see how we feel.
Honestly, and I'm not a recovery coach, but it does because it's just such a large part of my story. It's something that comes up is exactly what you said was why I was so hopped up on coke. Like, I loved cocaine because it ensured, and I was a teenager doing it. You're not alone in it. I was a teenager doing it. So it didn't have, I mean, honestly, when I got off it, I'm really lucky that it happened between like the ages of 15 to 18. And I had a minor relapse at 20. It was like a one or two time thing. So really 15 to 18. I'm lucky it was happening when I was so young because that would have been devastating later on. I mean, my body basically just bounced back. I didn't really go through withdrawals. I just loved it. I can do this every day. I didn't realize that I needed any accommodations that it wasn't, that's not normal, that I should be expecting that of myself. And I was in a million sports and band and this and that and the honors classes. And oh my God, I have to do all this stuff to prove my worth. And, so I'll get into a good college and people will like me and, just all this really toxic negative thinking. But exactly what you said, even, it drove my drug addiction. And it's weird kind of hearing it outside of that, addiction community for somebody to talk about, what, like why people, especially neurospicy people might turn to that as an option without it being, like you didn't turn to drugs, obviously, but,
What? So DRUGF in my day. I don't know why. Really, like my kids, if they listening, they
this,
know all
this,
about
this
my white history.
TikTok,
But yeah, this isn't going on TikTok. We'll be all right. But from 15 to 20, basically, I got married when I was 20, so it all kind of stopped there. We moved cross country, and all your connects are gone. But from 15 to 20, I tell you, if it were ecstasy, I was taking it. If it was coke, I was on it. If it was drinking, I was doing it. If it was smoking ciggies, I was doing it. If it was smoking weed, I was doing
but do
it.
you look back and do you look back and see that any of that was like partially like regulating or trying to keep up with all of it?
30-year-old girl running around in a 15 to 20-year-old body. I tell you what. And now I'm 37 and I want to be treated like a 14-year-old that's just rolls out into her past. But like, absolutely. And alcohol, especially. So I quit drinking in November of this past year. So November 2020, I literally kind of woke up one day and went, this doesn't serve me anymore. I don't like blacking out. I don't like being hungover. And this literally, like every sign has been pointing me in the direction of let's let this go. It doesn't serve us anymore. Let's appreciate, the fact that we came from a family of alcoholics and this is really all we knew. And then I started realizing alcohol, which I partook in and pretty much every day, right? Like and I'm not proud of it, but it was absolutely my coping mechanism to be around people that were too loud, that were too much. But like I was alive for the motherfucking party because I had to drink to be around it.
Yeah, no, when I walked in, party didn't start till I got there, and I'm a DJ too, so that, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And now it's like, wait, if I am selective about who I'm around, so I'm only spending physical time with people who light me up. And if I make sure that I factor in transition time and rest time, right? Like my husband and I went out to lunch with a couple friend of ours. And when we came back, we were only together 3.5 hours. When we came back, I was like, okay, well, I have to rest now because I have some more work I have to do later tonight. I ended up being in the bed for the rest.
Yeah, it's real. I plan social activity per weekend, and I take every other weekend off. And I don't even know, like, how I have friends. Like, I don't talk once. I don't know why I keep getting invited to things and I keep going and it just keeps, but I'm very selective and I block out time because It's like there was a situation we couldn't avoid it, me and my wife, and we had to do, it was a Friday night and then a Saturday morning. And oh my gosh, Sunday, I felt like I got hit by a bus, like emotionally and physically. And I'm like, did I go work out? Like, what is happening?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. It's so much. I mean, if everything is energy and if everybody is trying their best, and then we understand that the more negative you are, the denser your
Mhm.
energy. So the harder it is to feel good. Right. So when I just bring it, like my business partner, Christine at the Neurospicy Academy, she is what we call woo-a-joke, right? So when I start breaking down energetic principles to her and laws of the universe and stuff to her, and then start breaking down these little biohacks essentially to get our dopamine up, to make our body feel better and all this sort of stuff, right? So like I explained to her the reason that cold plunging and cold exposure is so fantastic to a neurodivergent brain, especially a dopamine deficient one, which is what we have with ADHD, is that a cold shot of water in your shower for 10 to 30 seconds when you're getting ready to get out is going to be it's going to be long, or what's it called? Not instant release. It's going to be extended release dopamine for the next 8 to 10 hours. And
Okay.
it's scientifically proven. So your energy is positively impacted by just 10 to 30 seconds of cold water as you're
Doing
getting
it
your ass out of the
long.
shower anyway.
Okay, I'm gonna cut back because I'll do.
Yeah, you don't have to do it for a
Yeah.
long time. And it's going to vary how much you can tolerate based on where you're at,
I
especially
should
the
get up
person with
with
the
that
FEM cycle.
because that's been another one. I didn't beat myself up. I'm like, I should just be harder. It's supposed to be difficult. Had no idea. Love that.
And if you're really struggling, this is when I found out the other day about it. Your back has, it's like, I'm not going to be able to explain this properly. Let me try hard. Your back feels differently and processes feelings differently than your front does. So if you're on a low energy day and the cold water seems like it's going to be really fucking hard, just get your back for a little bit. Don't get your front in it. So your back, like if you were to walk into cold water back first, you would adjust a lot easier and a lot faster than tummy first, because we have so many more like receptors on the front side of the right. So like if you can't do cold water in the shower, you can do cold water. The most effective one is cold water and ice and bowl and just stick your face in it. But if you try and do that, terrifying. It is like you are waterboarding yourself and you literally just, I don't need that. Right. Like it's scary. I can handle some fucking cold water on my back in the shower. Okay. That give me the same effect. Absolutely. I just want to be comfortable and happy all the time. I don't need this to be difficult. Yeah. So
I love small little things like that. Just small adjustments.
small adjustments, because that's all we can do, right? Like, and if you catch yourself, I should be able to do this, that's when you can reframe it right then and there and say, according to whom, why, who said, what for, who benefits from me thinking that, right? Like, that's some question I ask myself all the time. Who benefits from me thinking this? Yeah, that's how you get to the root of all these evils that are out here in the world. All right, Coach Goose, I know that you have a real life that you have to get back to soon. So what I want to do now is I want to have you plug your motherfucking spot and tell everybody where they can find you, and everything will be in the show notes too. And I just like the art director.
I don't know. What do you mean by plug? I don't know.
Tell them where they can find you, like which social media channels and how they can work with you, that kind of stuff.
So TikTok at the Coach Goose. I do believe, it's TikTok at the Coach Goose. On Instagram, it is coach_goose_. So pretty basic, simple. That DMs is pretty easy. I think I don't know the website. It's going to be in the notes, so that's good. But I sent it to you. I think it's coachgoose.stack.com, and that's where the podcast is. That's where the blog is. That's where the daily contemplation is. I love that stuff. I'm much more of a writer than I am a speaker. So that's where a lot of my actual thoughts and insights about things. Podcast is on. That's what I'm most excited about. That's my win. The podcast is on YouTube. It took a while to figure out how to do that. I am not tech savvy to be doing digital entrepreneurship, and to be computer down at 27 years old is not the most advantageous position to be put in, but we're getting it. You
learn, you figure it out.
I am. And then, low trip lifestyle podcast is also on Spotify as well.
That is so fantastic. I'm so happy to be at Mutual with you and to continue watching your meteoric rise, which I know it is going to be, because from the first video I saw of you, my spirit guides are like, and I said, I'll pay attention. You got it. Whatever. My spirit guides are very, very loud about who I'm meant to work with, but they'll never tell me when, and they'll never tell me how.
Just gotta wait.
But they tell me straight up that this is what I hear every time I'm scrolling social media and I find somebody new that my spirit guides are lying about. They just go, it's like I get tapped on the shoulder and they go, and they like point and they like make it a fucking point for me to understand. I go, okay, so it's never going to be something that I can understand.
I hear that. Yeah, they're clear and direct signs. I get that.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, All right. So I want everybody here to make sure that you go check out Coach Goose. Did you know that I have a speech impediment comes
I've
out?
got this carnelian crystal with me to make sure it's a confidence crystal, make sure I did have a list today. So let's do our crystals. Yeah.
All right. So everybody make sure that you check out Coach. I'll do it one of these days. I'll get it right. And I love you all equally and for different reasons. Take care of yourselves and do your research, and we'll talk very soon. Okay. Bye.